Hey guys, welcome back to CJ to Real Estate. Sorry I have not made a video in such a long time, but I've been, really busy with work as well as I've actually just recently moved. So I'm no longer in the Mississauga condo. You can see I'm kind of in a basement because there's no extra rooms for my home office. I have my room, my parents' room, and my mom's office upstairs. It is a 3-bedroom freehold detached. So instead, I get the whole basement to myself. So pretty much I just wanted to make this video to update everyone on the current situation with COVID-19 and the pandemic and how it will pretty much affect the economy, the housing market, and the rental market. In this video, I will touch upon the housing market and the economy, like specifically buying and selling. I will touch upon the rental market in a follow-up video because it will probably be too long. So in the first quarter, before all this coronavirus and everything was affecting us, we were in a really good spot. Our economy was strong, the housing market was on the rise, and then bam, pandemic. There was a lockdown, everything had to be closed, social distancing, and our lives as we knew it changed. In the second quarter, when the lockdown happened around March and April, we saw one of the sharpest declines in modern history in terms of the economy. There was over a 40% drop in the economy, and we've probably never seen anything like this. Like the closest thing would probably be the flu back in the 1920s. So what are we experiencing right now? Is it a recession? Is it a depression? No, I actually don't think it's a recession or a depression. This is because our current economy and the drop, it's not because of economic causes. It's more man-made effects that have resulted in the economy being as low as it is. And there are going to be two stages of our economy, which is pre-vaccine, which we are in right now, and then post-vaccine. After we get a vaccine and everything recovers, everything reopens up at full capacity, at full business. And if you look at the housing market, when the lockdown initially happened in March and April, people were panicking, everything was going down, including the housing market. So one of the first things that the Canadian government did to help stop the collapse of the economy was to lower interest rates. This is a monetary policy that the government established, and this has resulted in us seeing all-time low mortgage rates. As of today, in September, the average mortgage rates are about 1.7 to 2%. This is really, really low. Like, we've almost never seen mortgage rates this low before, and it almost costs next to nothing to borrow. Whether you are trying to buy your own home or trying to get an investment. It's even better if you are trying to get an investment property. This is because obviously interest, it is considered a cost, and the lower the interest, the lower the cost, which means more profit to you. But the rental market, that's a story for the next video that I will talk about it more in detail. And with the current rate that the cases have been going up lately these past few days, it's not unthinkable that we're going to actually have a second wave of the coronavirus and more closures happening in the near future. People are predicting it's going to be in the fourth quarter, so it's going to be October, November, December, around there. And our economy is going to be what people call a zigzag economy, where it goes up and down, depending on the closures, numbers of cases, and stuff like that. And this will continue to happen until somebody finds a vaccine for this virus. But you might think, what are the long-term effects on the housing market because of the coronavirus pandemic? Experts say there will actually be no long-term effects of the coronavirus that will affect the housing market. It's predicted that the housing market is going to stay strong. It's going to keep going up for the next few months and then maybe slow down a little during the winter months when less people want to move. But in 5 and 10 years from now, we will look back and there will be almost no effect to the housing market due to the coronavirus pandemic. This is probably because it will just keep on the upward trajectory because of the same factors that have made it rose from 2017 all the way to today. And that's obviously high demand, low supply. So another key important factor that the coronavirus had on the housing market is actually the rate of unemployment. People might ask, how can people still buy homes? How can there still be tons of buyers when the coronavirus caused so many loss of jobs? But this is simple if you actually look at the stats behind the unemployment numbers. Pretty much, yes, before the coronavirus pandemic, our employment rate was about 5 to 5.5%. And after the pandemic happened, it moved all the way up to like 13-14%. That's almost triple what it was before the coronavirus pandemic. And if you actually did look at the numbers, 80% of the people who did lose their jobs due to the pandemic were actually part of like the lower income bracket. So that means these people were renters. They weren't the people that could afford to buy a home or be homeowners. So unfortunately, this has greatly affected the rental market. But the important key point to know is that people who are in the homeowner category, who have higher wages and can afford to buy a home, they were not affected as much. You can tell by the amount of people working from home now and just the different measurements that are in place electronically, like for example using Zoom or like Google Web Meetings, that they did not lose their jobs. They're still working. They can still afford to pay their mortgages and maybe even can buy more properties. So another huge point that people have in mind is what happens when CERB ends? What happens when mortgage deferrals end? Will there be a huge influx of foreclosed properties on the market? And the simple answer is no. Unfortunately, there will not be an influx of foreclosures on the market. A lot of people actually think that it's going to be the same like 2008, where the huge depression caused a huge influx of foreclosures and then home prices plummeted. But I believe this will not be the case in this situation. It's actually just a misconception that people do have. So if you actually look at the mortgage deferral numbers and how many people actually did get a mortgage deferral, it's actually only about 15% of the mortgages across like the entire Canada. And within this 15% of mortgage deferrals, 85% actually only got a deferral because it would be nice to defer their mortgage and not have any mortgage payments. It's not that they actually could not pay their mortgage payments. There's only the other 15% that absolutely could not pay their mortgage payments anymore, maybe due to like a loss of job or not enough income to support it. And you can see this is kind of reasonable because instead of paying for your mortgage, these people can take the time to add to their savings, and once the mortgage deferrals end, they would have more than enough money to pay their mortgage once it starts again. It kind of gives them like a safety net to protect them. And we'll only see maybe about 15% of the people from all the mortgage deferrals might have a wave of foreclosures, but it won't be as big as people expected it. And also, with the amount of new first-time home buyers or people who can finally afford to buy a home and they were renters before, and how a lot of people are entering the market, or people who used to own bigger homes are trying to downsize in order to cut on cost. A lot of people are doing that right now, especially because of the lowered interest rates. And this is pushing a lot of activity down to the lower end of the market. And this is the price range from around 400 to 600,000. We are seeing homes sell in 2-3 days, while the slower end of the market, which can last anywhere from like 2 weeks to a month, is usually around 700 to $1 million. And this, unfortunately, is making it more unaffordable for people to live and to buy a home, because there are so many buyers in the market looking at the lower end, and this is driving home prices up. There are always multiple bidding wars that are inflating the prices over market value. So as I promised, this is my new family member. She's still a sleepy puppy. She's only 10 weeks old. She's so cute. Her name is Kiko. Say hi, Kiko. Well, thank you so much for watching my video. Please like and subscribe, especially for Kiko over here.